Hey, it's May 23rd, and we find ourselves in 2 Samuel chapter 24, as well as 1 Chronicles chapters 21 and 22, and Psalm 30. Let's jump right in. Now, don't miss this. Chapter 24, verse 1 says that God is upset with Israel. We can assume because they've been sinning again. So 1 Chronicles 21 completes that thought with God allowing Satan to tempt David to pridefully number his army. Now, far too many times I've heard this passage taught where this is all about David's pride and it was David who caused all this suffering, and it's not. This is primarily about Israel. So David gives into the temptation, and the implication here that David is taking pride in his army, the size of it, thinking that he has accomplished everything because of his large army. Joab reminded David that it was God who made the army great and counseled David not to count the soldiers. David insisted, and so Joab obeyed. Well, mostly. Check out 1 Chronicles 21:6. There's a little passive-aggressive thing going on. The differences between the numbers in 2 Samuel 24 and 1 Chronicles 21 are understood by differentiating between battle season soldiers, soldiers that were in reserve that had not yet seen battle, and then all the men of fighting age. So taking all those different groups into account can account for those numbers there. As soon as David was given the numbers, he realized his sin of pride and immediately confessed it and begged for God's forgiveness. Now, God forgave, but there are always consequences for sin. Through the prophet Gad, David was given 3 choices of how this was going to be corrected. Choice number 1, 3 years of famine in Israel. Choice number 2, 3 months of being defeated by Israel's enemies. Or choice number 3, 3 days of pestilence in Israel, disease. David chose the 3 days of pestilence that would be caused by God because he knew and trusted that God would be merciful. He's like, it's not going to be as bad as the other options. 70,000 men die as a result. Now remember, this is mainly about Israel's sin, so Israel received the consequences. To stop the plague, David made an offering. He insisted on buying the threshing floor of Araunah, also known as Ornan in 1 Chronicles. Not unusual for Jews to have 2 different names. Think back to Gideon, he was also named Jerubbaal. Even in the New Testament, Peter is also known as Simon, so not a discrepancy, nothing weird. David was not going to offer a sacrifice that didn't cost him anything, so he buys the threshing floor, he buys the cattle, and he offers the sacrifice. And as expected, God has mercy and ends the plague. In 1 Chronicles 22, we discover that the threshing floor becomes the future site of the temple that Solomon would build for God. David makes all the preparations. He charges Solomon to build the temple and to also seek God with all of his heart and mind. As part of the preparations, David even wrote Psalm 30, a psalm to be used at the dedication of the temple, an event he would never personally see. So what can we take away from today's passages? First, pride is sin. To try and assign credit that belongs to God to someone or something else robs God of the glory that is rightly his. Pride was Satan's sin, we are reminded in 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 6. This is a serious deal. Second, as soon as David realized he sinned, he immediately confessed, unlike Israel, and accepted God's correction on himself as well as the nation. We would do well to do the same. And third, sacrifice should always cost us something. David refused to accept the threshing floor and the oxen as a gift from Araunah. Sacrifice, by definition, is giving up something of ours and trusting God to continue to provide and bless us. My prayer for us today is that we humbly give God all the credit he deserves for what he's done. We are only good because God is great. We can't really take pride in anything personally because all that we have is from God. I also pray that we confess our sins immediately and accept God's correction. He is a merciful God and he disciplines those he loves. And finally, that we would trust God enough to sacrifice things of personal value to us, trusting that he'll continue to provide and bless us, giving opportunities for us to see him at work in our lives. If you haven't done so, please download our Through the Bible reading plan at asperiercommunitychurch.org/throughthebible. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.